What you looking at? You're gonna get some pound cake, that is. Today, I'm gonna show you a super simple, easy recipe using my bread maker. And if you don't have one, let me tell you, it's a life changer. And we're gonna make a pound cake. It's so easy and simple. All you need are eggs, butter, flour, sugar, baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder, and vanilla extract. And just a pinch of salt, just a little bit, gives it something special. So I'm gonna make this short video. I'm making this pound cake for someone special. These are great to just whip up, and I love to give people food. So come along with me today here on Hill Cookin, and we're gonna make a nice, easy pound cake. Great by itself, or like a friend told me, put some strawberry glaze, strawberries and whipped cream, strawberry shortcake. Here we go. Okay, y'all, our house is lived in, so don't judge me. Here at Pine Hill Cabin, things are not always pristine, but you know, it's not nasty, it's just we're a little cluttered right now. But here is my awesome bread maker that I got off of Amazon. But now I have one Facebook friend that got hers at the Opportunity Store, and I wish I had found those. I'm gonna keep my eye out for those. This is a kitchen arm. This one has 29 features. Everything from the basic white bread, I've made that before. I made the French bread the other day, and it's really good with the French onion soup, but we're gonna be using the cake setting. And I'm gonna show you how easy it is to make this pound cake. So the first ingredient in our pound cake is gonna be 3 large eggs. So I'm gonna take out 3 eggs, and I'm gonna crack them, and then I'm going to beat them, and that's the first thing that's gonna go into our bread maker. So let's go ahead and get that done. So all I'm doing right now is I'm beating the eggs so that they're mixed together really good. Because if you look in the bottom of a bread maker, I don't know if you all have one at home, there's this little paddle. I'm gonna try to get it so that my hand's not blocking it. And it turns, and it mixes everything up, and you know, you're not sure if it's gonna break up the eggs. So we make it a little bit easier for it, and we're going ahead and just beat the eggs. And then my pinch of salt, I don't measure it. Here's my salt shaker, and you'll see just a dash. We don't want a salt cake, we want a pound cake. So now that I have that done, that's gonna be the first ingredient that goes into the bread maker. Now I'm gonna rinse this bowl out, and I'm gonna use it to melt the butter. We're gonna get real butter, and we're gonna melt a whole stick. So this is the same bowl that I used to beat the eggs in. I just washed it out real fast and dried it. I'm gonna take my lovely expensive, no, not expensive, Great Value stick of butter, and you'll use a whole stick. And I'm just going to give it a little chop, and then I'm going to stick it in the microwave. I would probably, you know, everybody's microwaves are different. So start with 30 seconds, and then after that, you can add 15 seconds and keep checking it until it's all melted. You don't want it to cook and burn. You just want it to melt. So let's do that now. Now, you might be able to use just regular all-purpose or self-rising flour for this. I use bread flour, but I use bread flour for everything in my bread maker and when I'm making homemade bread. You can get this at our local Walmart here in Jackson. I was actually shocked that they carried it. It makes wonderful bread, and it makes this pound cake taste so good. And what I've done, I'm gonna show you while the butter is melting. I went and bought myself, because I like to stock up on this, one of these. Once again at Walmart, because you know. And I just store all my flour in here. And it just makes it a lot easier. It keeps it fresher. It's airtight. And there's the butter. Let's go check it. So here's our lovely butter. I love butter. Paula Dean ain't got nothing on me, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna pour the butter in with the egg. And that's another reason why you don't want the butter to be too hot, because you don't want it to curdle the egg. Now that's just a little piece of unmelted butter down in there. But it'll all mix in and be really good. So now we're going to add in the flour. Okay, so I said we were going to add in the flour, but we're actually going to add in milk. Because with the bread maker, if you all don't know that, as I'm digging in the fridge, you put all your liquids in first, and then you put all your dry ingredients on top. So I've got milk, and we're going to be using 1/3 cup of milk. Okay, it's really important. I know we love to add a little extra dash of this and dash of that, but you know, bread makers are not forgiving. So 1/3 cup. So I'm gonna measure that out now. So here's my lovely, once again, Walmart measuring cups. Pour in 1/3 cup of milk. And we're gonna add that to the bottom of our pan. Now there's one more liquid that we need to add, and of course that is the vanilla extract. Now I don't know if you want to use real vanilla extract. I just use the imitation. It tastes fine. Actually, you know, I've never used the real vanilla in this. I may try it and see if it makes a difference. Okay, so I'm gonna add the vanilla extract. If you don't have measuring spoons, just, you know, do what I did. I just went to Walmart. Again, I know, right? Walmart's gonna have to pay for this. And I just got the cheapest ones I could find. We're going to be using 1/2, let's see if I can get that on there, 1/2 tablespoon. Okay, and if you don't have it, just grab you a tablespoon out of your drawer. This is 1/2 tablespoon measured. If I was using a spoon, like what we would call a tablespoon, I would do the whole thing, okay? I wouldn't do half of it, I'd just fill the whole thing up there. I mean, you don't want to dump vanilla in there, but you know, use the whole thing. But for us, we're going to be using this 1/2 tablespoon of vanilla. We're gonna add that in. That's all the liquid ingredients, and then we'll add our flour and sugar and baking powder. So they say a messy kitchen is a sign of a good cook, so yeah. It's clean, you all. I washed everything down. So here it is, and I'm going to pour in one-half tablespoon. Now I'd say after I make this a few more times, I'll be able to just eyeball it. You know what? Let's just add a dash more. Just a little bit. Won't hurt it. I think that vanilla and butter and sugar is just awesome. Okay, so now we're ready to add the dry ingredients. We're going to be adding our flour. We're going to be using sugar. And like I said, don't use baking soda. Use baking powder. Good old Clabber Girl. But any baking powder that you have is fine. Okay. So now we're ready to add the flour. Like I said, if you don't have one of these back in the, well, it used to be in the back of Walmart. Who knows where it is now, where they've been changing everything. Here is the measuring cup. Now, before, whenever I was making stuff, I would just scoop it in there. Apparently, you can't do that. So, here's the proper way to measure flour and sugar. I use this little scoop, and I scoop it into the measuring cup. You don't want it packed down. And then you just want to make sure that you just have it all nice like that. And then I'm going to pour it into the bread maker. 1 cup. This recipe calls for 2 cups of flour. Like I said, I use bread flour, but I might try it with just regular flour and see how it turns out. So if you don't have bread flour and you want to try this, go for it. So now I have this cup of flour. You can see it there. It's not packed in, it's real powdery. And we're going to pour it into the bread maker. See, you want to have all your liquid covered. So this recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar. Sugar doesn't pack down like flour does, so what I do is I just take my cup. Guess I should be doing it over the bread maker. And fill it up. Now if I take my leveling device, perfect. And then this goes in on top of the flour. Hold on. Sorry for the camera work. So there's all of our ingredients. And there is the cup of sugar. So 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar. Now we're going to add in the baking powder, okay? So this recipe for this pound cake calls for 3 teaspoons of baking powder. I don't know what happened to my teaspoon. I was able to find the ½ teaspoon, so since I can do math, 3 teaspoons would be 6 ½ teaspoons. So if you've got a teaspoon, use it. If not, if you're like me and you don't know where it's at. So I'm gonna put in 6 ½ teaspoons, and that makes 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And I sort of like to put it in different parts. So that it mixes in good. And so you can see, maybe, all the dry ingredients are on top. And that's all the ingredients. So here's all the ingredients once again, and I'm just gonna close this. And you can open it, and I'll show you why that's good, as long as it's not baking. I'm gonna scoot it over here, plug it in. I'm telling you all, if you don't have a bread maker and you like fresh baked bread and cakes and stuff, this is awesome. Now you'll notice on here, the cake setting is 22. Now I made one earlier, and so it's already on 22, but just to show you how easy it is, you just hit the menu button here, and it goes through all 29 functions. So let's get it back to 22. What is 10? Multi-grain. 15. Beer bread. I actually made beer bread one morning. Sourdough. And look at that, 18, sourdough starter. You can make that and then make sourdough bread. I've not done that yet, but I may have to do that in a future video. So I'm gonna put it back on 22. Now this recipe actually is made for a 2-pound cake, but my bread maker for some reason only does 1.5 pounds, but it's a pound cake. It's supposed to be dense and moist and delicious. Now you can make your crust any way you want. Here's the crust color. Dark, light. I like a good in-between medium. So you'll see it's gonna take 1 hour and 49 minutes. So I'm gonna hit the start button. Let's open this up and you can see this pan. You'll notice it has a handle. It twists and lifts out after it's done baking, and then you put it back down in there if you wash it and twist it the other way. I'll let you see how it looks. It's going to start out really slow, and that little paddle that I showed you earlier is moving around. Okay, so let's let that, and then we'll come back when it starts going faster. Okay, so it's gone through the slow. You see it's mixing good. This is not the fastest, this is the medium setting. And I'm gonna come back after it starts going faster, and see all that's on the side. I'm gonna scrape that down in there with the spoon. So we'll come back when it's all mixed in really good. Hey, do you all hear that? Do you all hear that? It's really mixing in there now. But you'll see, especially with cakes now, it doesn't really matter with the bread because it rises and kneads it and everything. But you see how that is? I'm gonna get a spoon and I'm gonna tap that down in there. And don't be afraid, if you've never used one of these, don't be afraid of it. I was at first, trust me. I was like, what is this? It cooks and mixes and bakes it. And awesome. But I'm gonna get all of that flour. It's not gonna hurt anything. I always like to keep this closed when it's baking, and I like how this has this little window, and so you can see what's going on. So if we look at the time, 1 hour and 43 minutes. It's going to mix everything. It's going to stop and let it rise. You see it's kneading. And then even though it doesn't have yeast in it, it'll stop and let that baking powder do its magic, and I'll show you that. And this is a pound cake that I made last night that I'm getting ready to deliver along with the one here. Do you see that, how moist it looks and how it's got that glazy look on the outside? That's what I'm talking about, and it's all because of this little handy dandy box that I have here. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap these up, and that way they can eat the ones that I've already sliced. And then they can keep this one in storage. You'll notice that it is on bake. So I don't want to open it up. If I feel it, it is getting warm. That's the great thing about these. It's going to bake everything in here, and then it'll be done. So let's see what it looks like when it's done. Okay, you all. And if you can see that, 1 minute. I'm going to show you what it does when it is done. Let me flip this around. So here is our pancake. Oh, and listen. It's saying your delicious treat is done. And this will also kick over to warm, so it'll keep it warm until you're ready to eat it. So like I said, if it didn't have eggs in it, I could always have put it, you know, in... Okay, and so now, it's very hot, so I'm going to use a pot holder. Now, the thing itself is warm, but it's not going to burn me. Well, it had a little sinking in the middle, but you know what? It's going to be good anyway. Now, watch what I did here. I take the handle and I twist it, and it lifts out. Don't mind the crumbs on the stove. So I'm going to set it down here. And there's our cake. Even though it sunk a little in the middle, it's still going to be good. Now here in a minute, I'm going to just let it rest for just 1 minute, and I'm going to put it all on here. On this wire rack to cool. And so now that it's cooled just for a minute or two, just to let it rest a little bit, you take it. It's so easy. And you just shake it. And voila. No sticking. I just give it a little rinse and get some paper towel. And we're going to turn this over. And like I said, this one, I mean, you know, cooking is not an exact science. So, yeah, it sank a little bit. But you know what you do when that happens? Slice it and serve it, and nobody knows any different. It still tastes good. So I was telling you before, here's a little piece that broke off. Very, very good. It's got that really good glazy crust to it. The sugar in there, Here's my other one. I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna put this in here. Wait till you see this. I'm gonna close it up and where I have hold on.
And what happened to the other
Where I have the vents closed, it's gonna steam in here. Just let it sit. It gets so soft, so moist. That crust on the outside's got a little crunch to it. So good. And that's it. Easy pound cake made in a bread maker. And so now all I have to do, it's not hot to the touch anymore, is just pop that in the dishwasher. But honestly, a little soap and some hot water and it's done. And then after it's clean, all you have to do is just stick it back down in there. And it twists in.
Ooh.
And see, it locks in after it's clean. Just unplug it. Didn't have to heat up the house, didn't have to heat up the oven. Nice pound cake. I hope you liked the video. And that's all there is to it. Like I said, I love the bread maker. I'm going to give you some of the good things about it and some of the, I'm not going to say bad things, but some of the not so good things. So the good thing is that you just mix all your ingredients. Well, you just put your ingredients in there. You have to be sure that you follow the recipe exactly. Turn it on, walk away, just make sure you're back to get it out to cool. So easy. And you can make breads, cakes. It makes jam, yogurt, sourdough starter. If you want to bake your bread in the oven, you can just do a dough setting and it'll make the dough for you and let it rise. So, I mean, it's really, really versatile. Now, some of the not so good things about it, it sort of feels like you're cheating when you're cooking. I've gotten into like getting all that in the bowl and mixing it and kneading it and letting it rise and stuff. This is just a lot easier. So good things, and then, you know, if you want to do more traditional cooking, I guess you can still do that too. Well, that's the end of our episode. I hope that you enjoyed the pound cake episode. As you saw, it's very easy, simple cake to make. And I'm going to sit out here on the back porch right here at Pine Hill Cabin. Thanks for watching this episode of Pine Hill Cookin'. Make sure you check out the YouTube page. Make sure you check out the group on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Are there any recipes you'd like me to try in a future episode? Send me an email or you can just send me a message on Facebook. Bye.